Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about behavioral interview questions. This is part 5 to the Learning and Development series. I highly encourage you to take a look at the previous parts, as all of them are connected and they kind of follow a certain path in terms of professional learning. So in this presentation, I will briefly talk about behavioral interview questions. These notes are directly from LinkedIn's Talent Solutions team. So LinkedIn does a lot of research in their learning and development, and I thought it would be a good idea to share some of this information with you. I will be going over it from the employer's perspective, as well as offering insight and guidance on how to answer some of these questions. So what is the importance of behavioral interview questions? So it can reveal a person's potential, their ability to adapt, to grow, to strengthen company culture. So this actually gives candidates time to prepare as well as reflect upon their strengths and their professional experiences. I think it's really important, especially in this day and age. A lot of companies are opting for behavioral interview questions because it is a faster route, not necessarily accurate all of the time, but it is a faster route to get to what the candidate's strengths are and how they will succeed in that given role in their company. So you can tell if somebody's prepared because they won't be rambling on, and they will come with specific facts with enough detail to ensure that the interview understands where they're actually coming from and what they're trying to say. So the 6 soft skills that they talk about in the LinkedIn Talents team talk about are adaptability, culture add, collaboration, leadership, growth potential, and prioritization. We'll be talking a lot more in depth throughout this presentation, but essentially these soft skills are crucial in deciphering which candidate could get the role, and also let you know what skills employers are looking for when interviewing candidates. So let's start with the first one, which is adaptability. 69% of 1,300 hiring managers have stated that this is the most important skill. If you look back at any organization that has been successful in the past, one of the key features of their employees and of the organization is adaptability. So how fast can you adapt to change? Are you comfortable with that? What gets you moving, essentially? Some of the common questions include, tell me about a time you had to react to something new, or when you embrace new technology or a system. So you can incorporate either stuff done in school if you're young, or technology that you learned yourself. I know a lot of people are interested in computer coding, and that's actually a new technology. That's something that you can definitely talk about. I would say that with behavioral questions, it is important to answer in the STAR format, so that's situation, task, action, and result. You want to make sure your answers provide enough information, but not too much information to the point where your result isn't clearly stated and you are having a difficult time stating what you actually accomplished in that given time frame. I know in my career I have used various different systems and technologies, and that would be something that I would use here. Or let's say there was a new policy change at the office, a new corporate mandate. I would talk about that when answering these questions, should they be asked. The next one is cultural add. So I think in any organization, it's important that employees think differently and kind of stand out. Like I mentioned here in the slides, an organization will be able to successfully thrive long-term if people are actually able to act and think differently, because that's how organizations grow. We need people with different backgrounds, with different skill sets in order to help the organization grow to the highest extent. Research has also shown that if employees feel that they are a good culture fit, they are likely to stay with the company for a longer period of time. So some of the common questions include, what is the biggest misconception your workers have about you? Why? And what is the most interesting thing about you that's not on your resume? So with the interesting thing about you, you can talk about a hobby, you can talk about a software skill that you have, but I would always try to relate these answers back to the requirements of the position or to what the position is actually asking for, because that's really important. So let's say the position is looking for somebody who is a hard worker, who is dedicated, who will, kind of work through difficult situations, something like that. So you can say something around the lines of, I have self-learned piano. That is something that's interesting about me, and that's something not on my resume. Because learning piano is an instrument, and that's important in terms of just getting to know the person, and that's unique, because not a lot of people can play it. And also, it takes dedication. It's something that takes hard work. If you have excelled and you've received certain certifications or levels in that, then that's something that you can talk about. That's just one example. I don't encourage everyone to use their hobbies or interests, but that's just an example how you can relate it back to the role. So the next soft skill is collaboration. And it is important that collaboration is done right so that it keeps the business moving forward and at a fast pace. So common questions can include, how did you handle a difficult coworker? Describe a time when you had the best supervisor or coworker, and tell me about a time where you had to shift directions at the last minute. Now, it is important to be honest when you are answering these interview questions, but at the same time, you want your answer to look like you have been a positive role model in these situations. So you never want to look like the bad guy, and hopefully you're not. Hopefully you're all good people to work with in your work environments, and you have excellent references, and that's great and wonderful, and you get along with your coworkers. But it's important to showcase a difficulty that you were able to successfully and positively recover from. So there was a positive outcome that you perhaps enabled. And that's important when you're answering these questions. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is leadership. So research actually shows that organizations with high quality leaders are 13 times more likely to outperform their competition. So when a hiring manager, one of the reasons of asking these behavioral questions is to ensure that people stay long-term, but also to build their own leaders in their companies. So common questions can include describing a situation where you needed to persuade someone to see things your way, and about a tough decision you had to make in the last 6 months. So with the tough decision, again, you want to make sure that there's a positive spin to it. So for instance, let's say you were a manager at a company and let's say you had to let someone go. So you need to think about how you can make that into a positive situation. So perhaps the employee was not contributing. You have tried time and time again with that employee to make things right, to help them succeed, but they just weren't able to push through. Perhaps it was a very busy time at the office and there was a bunch of deadlines that needed to be made. Something like that. I'm making this up, but I'm giving you an example of what you could potentially say in these types of behavioral situation questions. But it's really important to focus on a specific time and not be very generalized about it, and not talk about it situationally. So as in hypothetically, what would you do? So it's important to really reflect on these experiences in your life experiences and be able to answer these questions appropriately and properly. So the next soft skill is growth potential. If an employee leaves an organization, it costs the company much more money to actually replace that employee. So it's much more better if an employee actually stays with the company long term and is able to grow themselves within the organization. So some of the common questions include, recall a time when your manager was unavailable when a problem arose. How did you handle it? And then what would motivate you to move from your current role? So these are important questions that'll make you think about how in your past these things have occurred, and how you handle situations. How do you move forward from them? Because they want leaders who either will accept their mistakes and move on, or that'll grow from their mistakes, like how that mistake has helped them grow, right? So that's important, and that's what most recruiters, most employers are looking for. Okay, and the last one here is prioritization. So employees need to know which tasks to attack first and deal with multiple different deadlines. With a lot of people working from home due to the pandemic, and because we are seeing an increase in the tech space in Calgary, in Canada, in the world, there will be multiple different deadlines given at any given time. You may be dealing with different customers, different products, different services. Maybe you're dealing with multiple different managers, and you need to know which task is important to attack first. And how did you arrive at that? So how did you know what was important at that time? And so that reasoning behind will actually help you answer these interview questions related to prioritization, which is, tell me about a time you had to juggle several projects, and describe a time when you feel stressed. How did you handle it? So it's really important to think back to your professional experiences. You can even use internships, volunteer experience. Those kinds of things are also really helpful. So that's it for the presentation. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was somewhat helpful. And I will see you on the next video, where I will be talking about situational interview questions, which is a little bit different from behavioral interview questions. All right, thank you so much for watching. Bye.